Hi and welcome, patron. How you all doing? I lost track of the days last week, honest to goodness. I had a few appointments, so this video is being filmed today, Tuesday, and it will be on the website, obviously, in a minute. It'll be a minute to you, or no time at all. So thank you for those that left feedback last week after my video that I did with the blending. Oh, do you know, I'll have to pop downstairs in a minute. I've left the yarn downstairs from the blending when I did the ratio blending with the Haiku alpaca. Do you know, I meant to pick it up, distracted. So anyway, it's because I'm thinking about this, which I'll come to in a minute. So yeah, I want to say thank you very much. And I think instead of doing Q&As for the rest of this year, I think what we'll do is anyone leaves after every video, anybody puts a comment down, a suggestion or any ideas or thoughts, such as Melanie, she's been nagging me for ages to do a demo of using a diz on a drum carder. So I'm doing that today. So she mentioned that in the chat last week below the video. And Liz came on to an interesting topic. Firstly about vegan bats. And then the other one about her principles and ethics about silks. So I've done a little bit about that. So that's helping this week's video. Thank you very much. It saves me constantly trying to think of what to do. I'm going to be doing, moving on to the next section of my book about bats. I've still got a bit to do in the rovings, but I'll leave that because I've got bored with that now. But I'll leave that for now. But I'm going to be doing bats, and the ones we've just done, they're going in the next section of the book because I'm starting that chapter, well, the art bats and carded bats section of the book. So yeah, so I'll do the demo in a minute, but I thought what I'll do is I will touch on veggie bats. Now, I'm going to say I'm not a vegan, and I couldn't be a vegan if I tried. I'm not a massive fan of vegetables per se. I'm quite fussy about the type of vegetables that I like to eat. Can't stand courgettes, and I can't stand eggplant or aubergine. Courgettes, I think they're called zucchinis overseas. I'm not keen on carrots unless they're fresh. Can't stand them. I blame my mother. I hate cooked carrots. I have to disguise them in food. But anyway, she digresses. I can't stand fresh tomatoes. I hate the texture of them. I like them in a tin, over the top of my fish fingers, on toast. That takes me back to boarding school, so we won't even go back that way. So yeah, there is research out there about the ethics of veganism, in the sense of the production and the amount of pollution that goes into the air, and the type of products that they eat, and the damage it's doing to the planet. So that's my point of view, but everyone's got their own point of view, okay? And a lot of the fibres have got to be man-made for vegans. And again, pollution, I mean, I know some stuff can be recycled and this, that and the other. They don't like the fact that things are being processed with the use of animals, even if, i.e. the sheep, even if that sheep casts its fleece, they still wouldn't use it regardless of whether it's been sheared or not. You get some sheep that cast their fleece and you can go around a field and pick up a bag full, take it home and process it, no problem. But we've bred, as responsible people, we have bred these sheep over the centuries, because we used to be massive traders of wool, because it was our predominant fibre until we got to the colonies and we got cotton and things like that. Silk was in around the world because of our explorations to the Silk Road back in the 11th century, if not before. Crusades and stuff like that, bit of history. So anyway, I have got an ethical vice on things like nylon and recycled plastic into fibre, partly because myself, I find it itchy. I find it really itchy on my skin. I tend to wear a lot of cottons and linens. This is cotton that I've got on now. I've got bamboo tops as well that look like denim. I've got things like that. So I tend to veer towards that, and I'm always looking at the labels to see the percentage of nylon or acrylic that's in my clothing, because I know that after, over a certain ratio, my skin starts to itch, and it's quite really sensitive with me having fibromyalgia. It affects more my top of my body than it does my bottom of my body, which if anyone's got fibro, they'll know. A lot of people get it in their legs from their waist downwards. Thankfully, I don't. Well, I say thankfully, mine is in my back, and it affects my my front, my top of my chest as well, and my arms and my shoulders, all the way down to my waist. So there you go. So I do have ethical issues with the processing, the processing and the chemicals that are used, and you're using natural resources and stuff like that in a mass production way. But then again, some of these chemicals that are used are byproducts from the oil industry. So I mean, is a byproduct. That's just how I am. But in saying that, if somebody was to reach out to me, which nobody has ever done, to reach out to me to do a vegan batt, and I've thought about this many a time, and it's really, really hard. Now, I have a friend who is a vegan. She's been a vegan since she was in her teenage years. She knows who she is. She is a Patreon member as well. But she uses wool, and she understands. She doesn't really have a problem. She's a wool spinner. She doesn't really have a problem with the byproduct of sheep with her ethnicity. She understands the need for it and the history behind it, and that if we don't look after these animals and shear them, then they're going to get really poorly and probably get infections and diseases if we don't look after them. But that's just how I look at it, and not from a carnivore, herbivore sort of point of view, but from an ethical animal welfare point of view. And I'm not saying that there aren't people out there that don't look after their animals, or have got to an age where they're stubborn and they generally can't afford to look after their animals, but they won't pack in that environment. I've seen sheep out in fields, and I'm like disgusted the way that they look. You can see that they've got fly around their tail ends and stuff like that. It's really awful to see it. Hence, they need shearing. Anyway. So, she's gone off on one again, and she's gone off on a tangent. So anyway, that's just my thoughts on it. Now, you could use, this is a product that you can get from World of Wool now. If you want to have a go yourself, you can get loads of different colours, and it's a bio-nylon, biodegradable nylon. Now, more and more research is coming out about biodegradable plastics and biodegradable nylons, and they reckon it'll take probably half the time of what a plastic bag will do to disintegrate. So either way, it's up to you what you want to put into the ground. I suppose it's going to last a bit longer because it's got it's biodegradable. It is a nylon product, but this one's been processed in such a way that it will deteriorate quicker. But it feels, I can just feel it. But it's actually not bad to spin with. Now that's not to say that I couldn't blend with it. Now you've got you can buy plastic bottle fibre. I know I've got fabric that's recycled plastic that I've used in products before. I don't think I've got anything to hand. It'd be fabric in the bag, but I did it. I used it for some project bags the other year there on the website. Let me just see if I can find it. I probably can't. No, it's not. It's not to hand when you want it, is it? Anyway, so my theory is, it's really hard to blend fibres that are really short staple length, okay? Now, this isn't too bad. It's a decent length. It's about a merino. So, yeah, blend this up, but you could blend it with bamboo fibres if you want something really sleek and sheen. You could blend it with acrylic if you wanted to, triolobal, or your plant-based fibres. You could do it. This isn't overly expensive. You could spin this up a couple 100 grams and knit yourself something with it. socks and that sort of thing. You blend it up with faux cashmere, which is a plastic base again there. Now I buy these products in because it's what my customers want, or I've bought them in because my customers asked specifically for that for a custom order, and I've got the remnants of that. So what else can you use? You can use pearl fibre, you can use rose fibre, you've got nettle out there. I wouldn't advise putting flax in with it. You can spin your flax off and off you go, but you can't really make a jumper out of it, could you really? So yeah, technically you can make vegan bats. It's not something I've ever been asked to do. It's not something that I would consciously put on the website, but I might do, if you remind me, Liz, the next chat, to do a demo of a blended bat, and then we'll spin this up to see what it looks like, and maybe just do a 50 gram to see what it looks like, and I'll probably incorporate that in the book. I'm trying to think what other fibres you could use. I think it's really hard. I mean, if you're going down the route where you're using just rose fibre with tussar silk and that sort of thing, you're not going to make a jumper out of it. You're going to want to use it for weaving with, to be fair, or a really lovely shawl. But it's not going to hold up that sort of plant-based fibres for mittens and hats and stuff. This biodegradable nylon, this would hold up for your hats and stuff. But plant-based fibres on their own are only going to be really good for weaving with. It's not something I would personally feel I could knit with it. You can make a really gorgeous Boleno, like, you know, your high-waisted evening shawls for going out. You could do something like that. It's going to have a drape on it, that sort of thing, but it's not going to stand up to winter woolies. But yeah, let me know if you want me to do a demo on a vegan bat. We'll give it a go and see what it looks like, and see how it spins up, and we'll do a swatch to see what it's like afterwards. I might even do a ratio type one with the bio nylon with, I don't know, something. We'll figure it out. Maybe do one with the silk in it, and maybe do one with a plant-based fibre if I've got enough in my stash, like C-cell, Tencel, yeah, that sort of stuff. So there you go. So get back to my cup of coffee. So I'm just going to quickly do this demo. I say quickly now. Can't find my disc anywhere. I've got a button out. Got a button, but it's a concaved button which sits in your hand properly. Quite nice. But if you haven't got anything like that, you can use at home a knot, a butterfly knot, or a washer. Go right through your other halves, or yourselves, because I've got one, your toolkit at home. See if there's any bolts or knots or washers in there. All else fails, how many of you got a knitting gauge at home? Why don't you just use that if it fits in your hand really nicely and you can work with it. Yeah, or buttons, but you want a button with a pretty decent hole in it. Now, Melanie has asked me to do this demo on a drum carder for quite a while. She does repetitively ask me, and I don't get around to doing it. And it's partly, now she's asked me to do it with a bat, and I'll pull down a bat in a minute of an old one, and we'll have a go. It's not something I would recommend anyone to do. And not because it's hard or thingy. I just think it's time consuming. I've seen people do it off the back of a drum carder. I've done it on my blending board on videos before. I've never done it off a drum carder before, mostly because it's usually over there. I have my entire work surfaces all up to my sort of waist height, because it helps keep my back straight when I'm in a lot of pain, which is quite often. So anyway, I've brought it over here to my unit, so it's a little bit lower, because you really want to get yourself in a position where you're face onto the back of the drum, because the way the tines go, they're heading towards me. If I was to do it from the other side, I'm going to find the tines are fighting against me because they're going in the opposite direction. Because if I'm pulling it that way, like from the front, then they're just going to get caught. So I need to have myself faced in the right direction, with the tines coming towards me. So when I'm drafting off the fibres off the back of the drum carder, it just comes off a lot smoother. Okay, now this is not something I do. I never do it. I've never done it. So this is the first for me. I've had a little demo and stuck it back on again. I understand why people want to do it because it's helpful with the drafting and stuff like that. I'm just a traditionalist. I prefer to prep my fibre as I go. So literally tear into strips. I've always got something in mind. Tear it into strips and I hand draft it. I just want to hand draft it. Really what you're making is a roving. I really need to invest in a hackle. I really need to invest in hackle. If anyone's got one in the UK and they're not that far down the road and want to sell one, give me a shout, please, because I'm desperate for a hackle. I've made my own, but it's not as good as the real stuff. I'm trying to drink my coffee before it goes too cold. So yeah, so we're going to do this. I'm going to do it off the back of the drum carder first, and then I'll attempt to do it off a bat. But I don't know how easy that's going to be because I've never done it straight as a bat anyway, because I hand prep it all. You've seen the videos that I've done where you just turn it into strips and stuff like that. Anyway, so I'll tilt you down. There we go. So you can tell you're sat right in front of the window, guys. So you get your button or your diz. Okay, I don't know where my diz is. It's somewhere around in this room. You can start from whatever side you want, but I'm going to start from this side over here. Actually, probably better off this side for you guys to be able to see. Okay, so you just want to get yourself a little length. Oh, put the concave section towards your hand, and then get your crochet hook or whatever it is that you're using. This is fiddly. To pull it through, and then you quite literally turn your drum and I just keep turning it. I'm gonna wrap that around my hand. You want to turn it to a certain length, distance away, so that you can get a really good draft. Now it wants to thicken up. There we go. Just get that around my hand. Move it forward and just gently pull it through. You're sort of pulling it at the same time, but you're using the hole to sort of draft, and you've got to be really careful because all of a sudden it wants to take a load. And then it tries to break. And then you just keep going. There we go. I've ended up leaving a load of fibre behind now. Don't know how that's happened. Well, considering it was all blended at the same time, but what it seems to be doing is taking off a top layer. It's not supposed to do that, is it? Yeah, I don't feel comfortable doing this. I'll just keep on going. There we go. So I'll leave it like that. I'll take that off in a minute. And you've got it, it's pre-drafted, and I think that's perfect if that's how you like to work. It is a type of prep, a bit like if you were using your English combs and you're processing your wool and you're using the Diz to do that. Yeah. So, is it time consuming? Yes. Is it a practical thing to do? I don't know. I don't know. If you haven't got time to draft, but you've got time to stand here and do this off your drum carder, then yes, by all means, it's up to you. At the end of the day, it's not something I would purposely go out and want to do myself. It's not how I work in my spinning environment. There we go. That one's broke off already. It's not how I like to work, but you've got a nice rove in there. It'll probably spin off really, really quickly. But if you've prepped your batt, properly, you shouldn't really need to do any of that. And especially if you've blended your batts really, really well, the way that I do mine, then there shouldn't be any need for any prep like that. You should be able to just strip your batts down in any which way you want to do them, whether you want to do an elbow join like I've shown you before, or in strips, or just spin the batt off in one go. If it's been blended really nicely, then you should be able to just draft it as you go along. It shouldn't clunk up. But I can see why people would want to do that. Now, I've got a dead dog. I've got a dead dog. I nearly stood on her. Right, so shall we have a go at doing a batt? Honestly, Melanie, what have we got up here? Oh, we've got a little mini one, a little mini demo one, probably left over from Christmas or something like that. Here we go. So, is it going to be any easier to? I've never seen anybody Diz from a batt before, and I didn't even know it was a thing, to be fair. But well, I'll give it a go. Give it a go. Right. Oh. So that is, yeah, it's a 30-gram batt. That's a Christmas batt. So let's feed this fibre through the bottom and see if it works. Yeah, no, it's Melanie, where have you seen this method? It all wants to come through at the same time. Yeah, it wants to come through at the same time, and that just doesn't. Oh no. Let me see if I can get it to. Yeah, you're having to pull it away anyway to Diz it, because if you try and Diz that, look, he wants to pull it all through in one go. And this is a Christmas leftover from the Christmas Advents. It's only 30 grams. It's not a massive chunky batt. So generally what I'm having to do is actually strip it at the same time anyway. See, so I'm still stripping it like I would do if I was actually just prepping the batt to work with. I'll have a go, try and come back down again. So again, I'm trying to pull it, but it all wants to gather in together. I'm not sure why anyone would think that this was a good method. It's faffy. And me and my patients, oh no, I don't like this. This I don't feel comfortable with. And you're not really drafting in comparison to the one that I've just done on the drum. You're clumping up the wool so the fibres are all congealing together. And that is not comfortable to do. I am just as well, because I'm still getting the clumps of Angelina in it. I would personally just either get the batt like that and draft it out like that with my hands, if you want to do it like this, like that, and then you can draft from there, or traditionally split it and then, now to be honest, I don't tend to draft my my prepped fibre off my batts as I go. I spin my strips as is. I don't even draft them up, unless it's a really highly textured batt, which is very rare. And if I'm using a highly textured batt, then it's usually I'm using it for art yarn. So that one there is the one I've just hand drafted. That one there is the one I pulled off, and that one there is the one we did with the diz, and I don't feel comfortable or confident. I tell you what, if I was to be asked to do that draft off the drum carder for a customer because they wanted it all prepped in advance, I would not use that method. The reason it's not going to work if you've just got a batt is because you've got nothing to hold, nothing to grip onto it. You could place it on your blending board and then try and diz off of that way, but no, you don't want to do that. You want to manually prep it. I think I've seen somebody on reels use a diz with a batt before, but I think what they've done is use strips from a batt and then drafted it as they're going along. But it's just a more effort. It's just using another tool when you can just use your digits. Just use your digits, love, is my answer to that. That's really nice. That's got fill body. If I've got to compare them together, I would stick with a drum carder and using your diz. Okay, let's have another go, see if we can get the rest of this yellow off. Right, there we go. Let's get this off. Lift that up. Yeah, I would personally not bother with the faff of actually dizzing a batt that you've bought from somebody. If you're making your own batts at home off your drum carder or off your blending board, this is the answer. Okay, I'll just twist this around my hand, and you're getting nice control, and you're drafting it. And even when you get these clumpy bits here, where it feels a little bit thicker than the rest of it, like that, now I can feel it stiff. I just straighten up the fibres and just draft that a little bit more and push my drum forward, and again just try and stretch those fibres out. This would probably be ideal if you're using long staple length wools, you know, like your Teeswater and your Wensleydale. Yeah, just tease that out a little bit. When it starts to bulk up, it will come out and move again a little bit easier. There we go. I get this in comparison to doing it the batt with the diz, that I don't see the benefit of it, but everyone's got their own way of doing things. I just think it's more time consuming and more of a faff. But if you've got a drum carder, as I say, and you just want to diz it so it's prepped straight away, or put it into a bag because you're going away and then you can just yank it out as you go in, then this is probably what you're looking for. There we go. this piece off, unravel that, and then wind it up properly before it comes too compacted. Oh, I've got a dog that's just been sick on the land. You have to bear with us. This dog, this collie, decided last week during the thunderstorm to eat a sock, which she tends to eat things when she's nervous, and she threw up an entire fill sock the other day. Oh, she's off one again. Oh God, it sounds horrible. Right, there we go. So there is another section of that. Yeah, I think, I think, hold on a minute, there's the bit that, take that off. Oh, listen to that bloody dog. Oh, great. Phil's at work and I've got to go and pick that up now. Hold on a second, right, let's get the rest of this piece done. So, also Liz mentioned in her comments, we're all about ethics. Ooh. And she mentioned about her thoughts on silk. Now, I totally get where you're coming from on that one, because mulberry silk is generally seen as not very ethical at all. I mean, they can get their organic practices and not use chemicals on the mulberry trees and stuff like that, but as a general rule, when it comes to the treatment of the caterpillars and the processing of the silk, because obviously they have to boil the cocoons so that the silk's all in one piece and keeps its length and lustre, hence they have to do it the way that they do it. So I have done a little bit of research. I need to get the rest of that off. So there you go. Anyway, so there we go, Melanie. I hope that helped. Joe will never again try and attempt to I will never ever again try to attempt to diz an art bat. It's just not worth my hassle. I ain't got the patience for it, love. So anyway, so back onto the ethics beast again. So ethics on silk. The most ethical silk production methods involve either wild silk employing a piece silk or a Hamisia silk approach. So Hamisia is just a terminology of a method, okay? Wild silk, tussa silk, which is one of the silks that I use a lot of, okay, is counted as a piece silk because there's no harm to the creatures in the creation of tussa silk. Okay, so here you go, Liz. You can use it and it's not ethically incorrect or anything like that. There's no harming of any creatures. Tussa silk is harvested after the moth has emerged from its cocoon. Okay, and Hemisia, silk involves making small cuts in the cocoon to allow the moth to be able to leave before it's processed, right? So from the cocoon, these methods minimize the harm to the silkworms compared to the conventional methods where the cocoons are then typically boiled to extract the silk, i.e. from mulberry silks, for example, okay? Tussa silk is produced by silkworms that feed on oak leaves and other leaves in the natural forest environment, or is known as wild silk, is another terminology for it. Has a more rustic look, slightly coarser and compared to cultivated silk, i.e. mulberry silk. Hamisia silk or piece silk is a method on humane production, okay? So like the tussa silk moth in the trees, let them go through their life process and then they come out of the cocoon afterwards. Okay, and then the cocoon's then processed once they've gone through their full life cycle into an adult moth, and then they go. Right. Hamisia or piece silk is a method on a humane production, allows the silkworms to complete their life cycle and emerge from the cocoon naturally from a small insertion in the cocoon with no harm to the creator. To the creature, the creator. Mulberry silk are domestically fed on mulberry leaves and can be certified organic, environmentally friendly farming practices from mulberry trees and minimise harmful chemicals. And it is a sustainable material. But for every 100 worms is one tree, which I think it equates to 32 acres of land. No, 1 acre of mulberry trees provides food for silkworms to produce up to 35 pounds of mulberry silk material, of raw mulberry silk. That's mad. Okay, that is mad. But then the process of the mulberry silks, generally they've not all pupated, come out of the cocoon, and mostly end up in the boil, so that they can keep the cocoon intact, so that they can keep one consistent long fibre when they're drafting and processing it. So if they did it the Hemisia way, you would end up with smaller, shorter staple length, which is the problem with the tussar silk. It's shorter staple length, or the Hemisia, the pea silk. So if they do slit it, just a tiny little slit to help the moth to come out. As it gets bigger, the cocoon will open up slightly until it completely evolves and then flies away. That means, and then the cocoon then has, obviously, in sections, shorter staple length. Okay, in the grand scheme of things, does it really matter? To some it does, especially in the silk industry where they want one consistent long fibre, especially if you're talking like sewing silks and things like that, because it just makes for an easier process with plying the silks. So there was that. But then I looked into it, and peduncle silk. Now I love peduncle silk, and it's actually a type of tussar silk. It is a tussar silk, but the creatures do something a little bit different. It's produced from a specific tussar silk caterpillar. The stem is harvested after the moth emerges from the cocoon. This particular form of tussar silk has a shorter staple length than traditional tussar, naturally colours a taupe or a shade of grey. The Plaiaphia is not grown in frames. The moth is still grows wild and attaches the cocoons to branches with a strong black stem called a peduncle. So the peduncle is something that dangles. Okay, the cocoons are then harvested after the adult moth has already exited and flown away. So no silkworms are harmed during any production. So that's a type of Hemisia or piece silk. Okay, now I've heard people mention piece silk before, and generally what piece silk means is a silk that's not harmed the creature. So I'm not sure about Erie silk, I'll have to look into that, but peduncle silk for sure, tussar silk, which both the same. Okay, so if you want to make sure you're using a fibre that's been created by an animal but is a byproduct of theirs and they've not been harmed in the process of it, you want to go for a peduncle or for tussar silk. If you want me to see if there's any other type of silks out there that are similar, or if they are mass produced in the way that mulberry silk is, then let me know in the chat below. Or if there's any other fibres that you're interested in and you would like me to have a little natter about them on my next video, let me know. Any demos you want, if you want me to do the vegan demo, give me a blast. Leave your thoughts and ideas in the comments below, and it just helps me with the videos for next time, especially at the moment when I've got about 27,000 things on my mind and I'm not quite with it on some days, so it makes it easier. And I'd rather give you guys the content and the videos that you guys are looking for. It helps me a lot produce proper, better videos with more information that you may be looking for that I don't always think to involve or to go looking for. Anyway, this month is on your discount code for members is buy two get one free. It's so if you put 3 items in your cart, you'll get the cheapest one free. Okay, that's last until the end of this month, the end of June, for members only. I'll put the code, you know what it is, but I'll put the code underneath because these videos eventually end up on YouTube at some point in time, a year down the line. I don't like to mention the code just in case. So the code's down underneath in the chat, just to remind you, and you've got to the end of June to use it to get buy two, get one free for members only. All right, take care of yourselves. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave that thumbs up. It really does help. And if you're ever watching any videos over on the YouTube channel Full Stop, please do remember to hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. YouTube seem to now and again delete people, and they think that they've subscribed and they have to go back, and they wondered why they haven't seen anything. I will be popping on, hopefully. I was hoping to do a YouTube this week, live chat. I'll see how it goes, but it might be next week before I can get on, because I've got a phone call on Wednesday, and this person's supposed to ring me at 11 o'clock, but when it comes to their appointments, they're always an hour late, and I'm sat in a waiting room waiting for them. So the odds are I might not be able to make it for a Wednesday live chat over on YouTube, but I'll be on Instagram for definite on Saturday. Anyway, I digress. She's been on a waffle journey today. I hope you don't mind. Some of my thoughts and opinions and ideas, we've all got our own opinions, and I think sometimes hearing somebody else's, maybe you're like, oh, I never thought of it like that. Who knows? Give me your thoughts and ideas and opinions, and we'll have a rant about it next time. Anyway, that's me off, going on downstairs for a fresh coffee. I will catch you next week. Bye for now. Right, I'm back. Just quickly. So these are the yarns spun up from those ratio batts that I did with the haiku the other week, that I thought I'd come down the stairs and went, oh, I'll do them now, so then I can get the swatches knitted up for the next video. So this one was the 35% ratio. This was the 15%, and I think the other one was what, 5% or something like that. So there we go. So that's what we've ended up with. So you can see here, you get the little odd bit of peach, but it's not a lot. This one seems to be a bit more covered in the peach fibre, and a bit more consistently throughout the yarn. Can you see what I mean about the other week when I was on about, I thought if I do a colour with a blending ratio, you'll be able to see what I mean about its placement within the yarn fibre blending. And then this one's a 35, and look how much more orange or peachy that looks in comparison to the one with not much in. And I know you get these little splodges and things like that in it, but the point being is it's not consistently lots throughout. There's a little fading of it here or there, but there's not a lot of it. And then this one here, there's sections of cream, but you'll get more hints of the other fibre throughout it. And this one obviously here is a lot more in comparison, and it's definitely, you can see the difference in all of them. So there we go. So that's those ratios. I will get those swatches knitted up over the weekend, and I will show you what they look like next week. I'm off now.